Welcome to Reframed. I'm your host, Brooklyn Grady. Let's reframe your approach to business and life together. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to episode 1. This is the first official episode of Reframed, and I am just so excited to be recording. I have been wanting to launch a podcast for some time now, and it just feels really surreal to be here recording. I know I said that in the intro app because it truly just kind of feels like the dream that was never going to happen. And then now we're here. So I'm really excited about it. So to give you a little background about how I got into photography, why photography, I need to take you back to when I was 16. So I was going to nanny in Switzerland for a summer when I was 16, and I had been babysitting up until then and saving my money, and I knew I needed a camera to take with me because I was going to Switzerland. This was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I was so excited about it. So I took my babysitting money and I went to Best Buy, and I got the camera that I could afford. Essentially, I used all the money I had to my name to buy this kit camera, and it was a Nikon camera. It was a D5000, and I thought it was so cool because it was a DSLR camera and it had the kit lens with it, and I was so proud of this official camera that I had, and I wore the camera strap that came with it so proudly because it told everybody that I was a professional photographer. And all of 16 years old. But anyways, I went to Switzerland with that camera and I took pictures of everything. I literally fell in love with photography, and I had the camera set on auto, so no shame in using auto mode. And it's gotten so much better too now with mirrorless cameras and everything. But back then, I didn't know manual. I didn't know how to run the settings. I didn't know what aperture was. I didn't know what exposure meant. I didn't know shutter speed. Like, that stuff was very foreign to me, but it really didn't matter because I had auto mode. So I used that camera and I took pictures of everything. So I nannied that summer with 3 little kids. So I took care of them. And then on the weekends, we did trips and went and saw some really cool things. We saw the Gruyere cheese factory and went to the Swiss Alps and went downtown Geneva a lot on the trains and buses. So I used that camera to death, and I came back home from that trip and the camera never left my side. I then became the head of the yearbook class in high school, and I produced the yearbook for a couple of years, and I just was always taking pictures of friends. Back in the day, I think it was like PicMonkey that we used, and it was this terrible editing software, but at the time we thought it was so cool. You know, we put like letter layovers on pictures, and it was just my way of editing photos then. But anyways, so that was high school, and then college came, and I knew I wanted to pursue something with photography, but with the wisdom of parents and others, they recommended, like, you want to pursue something that is going to make you money, essentially. And so in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, art degree isn't always the most business-minded degree to go after, but I loved it. And so we went up to Fargo and toured North Dakota State University, and their downtown campus where the art building is was just awesome. I fell in love with it. It was a 4-story brick building in downtown, and it had been restored, and each floor in the college was for different departments within the art program. So it was drawing was on one floor, and sculpture was on one floor, and painting was on one, and photography was on one. And there was a dark room. And so I fell in love with it. And I was like, yep, this is what I'm doing. And as a backup, I also added communication. So I was like, well, I'm going for an art degree. I'll add communication too. So long story long, I ended up there for college, and I loved it. The photography department started with film and processing film, black and white, and then we gradually graduated into higher level courses. We learned Photoshop, Illustrator, all the Adobe programs, and then slowly got more and more freedom with creating. So it was really focused on the feeling that you were capturing in photos, the creative part of it, the line, the structure. What does the image say? And it was so stripped back from the commercial side of photography that it started me at such a great place in understanding photography and understand lighting, camera settings, because when you start with a film camera, there's no auto mode on a film camera. So it forced me to learn the basics, which is what I needed. So after learning all of that, I was picking up photo sessions on the side throughout college. So I would shoot for friends. I did some real estate photography. I kind of anything that people wanted me to shoot, I said yes to, because I was just in that exploration stage, figuring out what kind of photography I was pulled towards. So I shot a lot of homes for realtors as they were listing homes. I shot a lot of weddings as well. And after college, I had been shooting all kinds of sessions up until then, and I met my husband during college. And so we got married, and I just kept shooting. I had also had a communication degree, so I thought, well, maybe I need to go get a job using my communication degree. That was the kind of the more stable thing to do at the time. And so I went and worked for 6 months in a public relations department, and I absolutely hated it. Like every part of it, I dreaded going to work. While I was at work, I kept thinking about the sessions I had planned. I also did some interning as a marketing intern and did graphic design work. And so in the combination with photography, I was also designing logos for people. I was doing graphic design work, and I just loved that. Like the creative outlet for that for me was so great. So I knew very quickly that this type of job setting, the corporate world, was not for me, and I wasn't enjoying it. So I quit the job after 6 months and just pursued photography and my graphic design stuff full time. I just freelanced. Anybody that needed work done. At this time, I'd been shooting through college too, so I kind of had my name out there as a photographer. And so we got married, and then shortly after, we started having children. And so we moved back to the farm in Minnesota with my family. And throughout this period, I was just adjusting to motherhood. My husband was adjusting to farm life and raising animals, and it was just a big stage of transition for us. But throughout all this, I had my camera with me. So I would take the kids outside and take their 6-month pictures, their 1-year pictures, and still shooting for friends because we moved back to the area where I grew up in. There was a lot of people just from word of mouth that would refer me and inquire, hey, so-and-so is getting married. Do you want to come? Are you available? And so I was shooting often, but I was also giving up my nights and weekends because weddings were weekends in the summer, and then night sessions were family sessions. And so I definitely wasn't priced profitably, and I was what you call a shoot and burn photographer, where I just give them all the digital images. It was a flat price. I was charging about $250 a session at that time. And I'd had plenty years of experience behind me. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing with my camera. I was also very familiar with editing software with Lightroom and Photoshop. So the quality was there, but I just didn't have the business knowledge to know how to set myself up for success. So in 2020, I decided I wanted to take photography full time. We were at a place with our children's ages and with the farm that it made sense for me. So in 2020, I decided to build a photo studio. And this is kind of when I decided that I wanted to be really serious about my business and make it really profitable. And up until this time, I, was kind of just breaking even. All the money that was coming in was going back into my business. I was paying for expenses and software and props and just working out of my home. So I built my photo studio, and then we all know what happened in 2020. Things shut down. So all the income that I had from newborn sessions, any type of session, but especially newborns, were careful, just kind of got put on hold. So in that time when we were home, I started looking into mentorships, workshops, coaching, and I was like, I'm going to get serious about this. I'm going to make it profitable. So as I started investing in coaches and mentors, I started to learn so much about different ways of building a photography business. And I had been introduced to like in-person sales, or IPS as it's commonly called, method of of photography, but it always felt really intimidating to me because it felt like this sit-down appointment. It was really formal. I always had this, I always had a thought about in-person sales that it was like kind of stuffy. It was really salesy and it pressured people into buying something. It kind of was like this old school method. And growing up, when we would go have our photos taken, it was that model where you'd come back into the studio afterwards and sit down and have this long appointment. And I remember my mom and grandma always kind of stressing about like, well, we don't really know like in that moment what we want to order. Like, can we add in something later or can we take these with us? And so that was kind of my thought process going in. But as I started hiring mentors and working with coaches who were doing photography successfully, specifically newborn photographers and brand photographers was kind of the two that I really looked into. I realized that there was a way to do it really smart and well, and you could do it with still having boundaries in place and you could get your nights and weekends back. You didn't have to just give away all the digitals. So at this point, I decided it was time to go all in. I was so tired of giving up all my nights and weekends with my kids and with my family and not making much. And so I just decided that it was time to change. And so I started ordering samples from different vendors to see what kind of products were out there. And I had seen enough photographers do in-person sales and add products really successfully. And I'd had a coach who showed me her method and it was working really well for her. So I took everything I learned and kind of created this hybrid method. And to this day, this is what I'm teaching my current coaching clients. But essentially, I took bits and pieces from different mentors and coaches, what I learned from about 2020 to 2022. I put that all together and created a really successful business model. So in essence, I'll break down my coaching method in later episodes, but for the purpose of this episode, I'll just kind of do a once over to give you an idea of how I went from just like that shoot and burn photographer, to more of a luxury model. But essentially, I added in products that I loved after getting samples and testing out. I curated a line of products that I felt really confident in and it fit my work and I wanted to offer those to my clients. And then I just beefed up my whole client experience. So from inquiry all the way to final testimonial, I was helping them with every step of the way. So I got really nitpicky about the emails I was using. How many touch points am I following up with people? How am I talking to people when they inquire? What kind of first impression are they getting from me? So I just went through every step of the client experience and improved every part of it. Added in client closet, added in hair and makeup options, added in really nice quality products. I added in wall art design. So I do mock-ups for everybody. I added in customized gifts. So my clients were feeling taken care of. And just a lot of little things that added up to a huge shift in my business. And all of this added value. So clients were willing to invest. So as I transitioned my business model to this luxury style of serving clients at this high touch, white glove experience level, I began to see really big success. And I don't say that from a place of bragging, but just out of a place of inspiration, because if this is possible for me, I'm a girl living in a town of 1,300 people. Technically, I live out in the middle of cornfields because I live on a farm. And my market is small. The nearest bigger market is about an hour and a half away in both directions. So if this is possible for me, this is absolutely possible for you. So if you take anything away from this episode, just let it be that you can absolutely do whatever you set your mind to. You are capable, 100% capable. I never in a million years thought I would be in this place right now. On a podcast for one, two, talking about having success in a photo business as a luxury photographer, and three, wanting to share it with everybody and feeling like so lit up about what I've accomplished that I want to share it. So this really is something that I don't mean to put myself on a pedestal because I really am your average girl. I grew up on a farm. I went to college. I got a camera and I got obsessed with photography. And here I am. So anyways, as I was booking clients, I had a client come in who was just incredible. She was a mom and she had 4 kiddos and she really valued photography. And so we set up their family session. I shot their session and then I went and did a consult for her at her house. And I'm going to break down more of this in a future episode as well. But that session led to an $11,000 sale. That was one session, one client, all from serving her with everything that I had. Everything that I had changed in my business model at that point had kind of come to fruition. And having this sale that still to this day feels crazy to say out loud, it really changed my whole perspective, because after that sale, I gained the confidence to realize that this actually works. This is something worth shouting from the rooftops and teaching other business owners about. And she is, to this day, a lifelong client. She has come back to me year after year, and we update her photos every year. She has beautiful prints hanging in her home that I've custom designed for her. And she's happy. I'm happy. I want to serve her to the best of my abilities as long as I can. And she refers her friends to me. And so now I offer a referral discount and have a referral program. And that's worked really well for getting new clients in the door. But it's been my ideal clients because it's her friends. It's people that are like her, that value similar things. And it's really cool what you can build with a small business. So I'll share more about that in an upcoming episode. But here we are today. I still run my photo studio and book clients regularly, and also offer business coaching to photographers and other business owners that are looking to grow and scale. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring, and maybe just a little bit educational, if nothing else, to hear my story about how I got into photography and why we're here today. And honestly, I'm just so excited for the future of this podcast and just to give a platform for me to share more with you. So thank you so much for checking out the Reframed Podcast, and I can't wait for you to join in the conversation every week. Thanks.